I'm Jamie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
First of all, the band started as a duo. The brothers, the Kinsella brothers, made up this studio project, and
That's correct.
even though you joined a little bit later,
Yes.
can you tell us something about how this story began?
What happened? Okay.
What happened?
Well, it was actually in late 2010, and I had known the sound engineer. Zach Dutton, the sound engineer, has been a good friend of mine all my life. We went to school together, we grew up together, and we always played music together. And the other boys, Niels and Torsten, also went to the same school. We all went to the same school, actually, but they were a little bit older than me, so they were a few years ahead of me. So we weren't actually that friendly in school. We didn't even really know each other in school at all. But the boys originally, as you know, it was a three-piece, and they sort of relied quite heavily on visuals. So it was very much a kind of audio-visual experience, you know. And there was quite a lot on backing tracks. So the visuals were kind of not a distraction, but they were to kind of to keep you less focused on what was tracked and more for sort of visually involved in the show. But after a while, they didn't want to continue down that road, so they wanted everything to be live. So Zach, they were basically looking for a keyboard player, and Zach put my name forward because we had been friends, and they were actually looking to do a live piano track in a studio in Ireland called RT Studios, the biggest studio in Ireland. And they were going to be doing a few shows, and they wanted to do a piano track, but they didn't have a piano player. So I came in, and I'd been a big fan of the band as well, like for years, you know. So it was an honor to play that day. And after the show, or after we did the gig, the boys said, "Look, do you want to be in the band full time?" And I said, "I'd absolutely love to." And yeah, the rest is history, I suppose. 4.5 years later, and it's growing. It's going quite well. And we're in a good place at the moment.
Great. Well, it's interesting the fact that the very beginning, as you said, the band did not have, well, the duo or the trio had no expectations from their first work, but at the same time they published it with their own record label.
That's correct.
So that is strange, isn't it? I mean, for someone who doesn't expect too much to put up a record label.
Yeah, well, the guys had done projects before God as an Astronaut, and they've been told by various promoters and sort of the various labels and that their stuff wasn't good enough. So I think they were kind of just like fed up. So the first album was like a sort of farewell to the music industry. It was they kind of said, "Oh, I just wanted to do something that, you know, they're proud of," and there was no expectation whatsoever, and it was only basically. It was at the same time when the rise of the internet. You know, the internet age was at the beginning. So they kind of, with the first album, bypassed the sort of conventional rate that you would take and went straight to the internet and sort of gathered a online fan base, and then it spread via word of mouth. So it's funny how, and even still today, you know, however many years later, 10, 11, 12 years later, we're still playing a couple of songs off the very first album, you know. So I think people definitely connect with the music from the first album right the way up to the new album that we're working on now. So it's what was originally a farewell to the music industry was the start of something very special.
Like a welcome to the music industry. So anyhow, as you said, at a certain point it changed from a studio project to a live performance when you joined, and before you, Lloyd Haney also was on drums. So
yes.
What was the actual evolution from the beginning, the lineup at the beginning, and the lineup of 5 people, 4 or 5 people?
Well, I'll take you through the whole. When it was when Lloyd first got involved, the boys played for a few years as just a 3-piece, and again they were very much dependent on visuals, and again it was more of the audio-visual experience. It was the kind of I remember there was kind of like George Bush, and it was all very controversial. The visuals. There was a guy called, on the track Suicide by Star, the accompanying visual was of a guy called Ricardo Lopez, who was a guy who like blew his head off on camera years ago on his 21st birthday, and he was a lunatic. He became insane. So it was all very kind of dark and controversial lyrics that matched the music, and it was sort of quite spacey as well. But then we sort of drifted away from the visuals. When I first got involved, back in 2010, we were still using visuals, but we were to a lesser extent, and then sort of organically, progressively, as we went on, we just decided to get rid of the visuals altogether. We got in Gaz Carr from the band Butterfly Explosion for 1 year. He helped out because the last album, Origins, had a lot of overlapping guitar lines and stuff that would have been very difficult to recreate live had we not had an additional guitarist. So we got Gaz in, and he helped out. He did a really, really great job for the year. And he left. Then he's gone back now to focus on his own and his own projects, which are called Butterfly Explosion. They're definitely worth checking out. Very good band. So yeah, we just continued on then as a 4-piece, and we've changed sonically. We've made a few adjustments, and we feel that the sound that we have right now is by far the best sound we've ever had. It's very much about kind of 4 musicians on stage playing their music as a band. That's the way it is now. There's no visuals. There's nothing to distract it. There's very, very few things on the tracks. It's all it's 80 to 90% of what you're hearing is live music. And it's just 4 musicians on stage playing their instruments, playing their music, and playing music from the heart.
Okay, and coming to the definition, let's say, it's of course we are in an age in which everything has to be tagged, and it has to have a catalog name. So about your music, everywhere you read around, and it's tagged as a post-rock. But in many ways, I find it ambient. I found also progressive music. Being an instrumental music, I mean, you've played 6 albums, studio albums, and 1 EP of always instrumental music. Mm-hmm. What is the definition you would prefer if you had one, or you maybe you prefer not to have one?
Well, I think just like you said, it's interesting you say we're labeled as post-rock. I think by nature people are afraid of, or they don't like what they don't know, right? Mm-hmm. So we've been, for whatever reason, you could analyze it any way you want, but for whatever reason we've been put into the genre post-rock. And if you look at all the post-rock bands in the genre, they're all so different. The differences between each band are so extreme that really, when it boils down to it, the only thing really that we all have in common is that we're all instrumental, and there's no vocals. We did this year we did 1 or 2 various post-rock festivals with some great bands like Urinal Light and Russian Circles and Mono, and some great post-rock bands, ourselves, This Will Destroy, and we're all so different. So it's very difficult to sort of pinpoint what exactly post-rock is. But for us, all it's ever really been about is writing music that means something, writing music that's from the heart, and writing music that we're all happy with. It's never writing music for the sake of music. It's never writing music by a certain formula. A lot of post-rock, there seems to be like a songwriting formula where you sort of start off ambient and slow, and it's progressive build, and it ends in this big climactic thing. And while, of course, we do have a few songs like that, and that's great, we don't particularly like to follow any sort of formula. If it's and you'll see that on the new album that we're about to release at the end of the year, there's some completely different approaches that we're taking. So, I mean, in terms of what post-rock is, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows, really. We're certainly we certainly want to continue to do different things and keep ourselves challenged, and we don't want to put out any samey material. And we're very much interested in writing music from the heart, and writing music that means something, really. That's our main concern. So whatever else, if we're in the category of post-rock, that's fine. And if we're not, that's also fine. What we're going to do is we're going to continue making music that we like and that we're proud of. And if people like it, well, then great. And if they don't, well, there's plenty of other bands out there as well. So we're just really grateful to be where we are. And I mean, we just got back from Brazil, and for a band from Ireland to travel over to Brazil, it's a big deal, and we're tremendously grateful for that. And to have such a great audience, and to come over to Rome, one of the most beautiful places in the world, for the fourth, fifth time now, and have people come out and see us. It's just such an honor, you know. So we are really, really grateful, and we're very lucky. So yeah, if you want to call us post-rock, that's fine.
Do you think there's enough space in the music business for the instrumental music?
I don't think it's really ever going to be a genre that's as big as, say, pop or rap or classic rock and roll. I just don't think it has that sort of mainstream sense of accessibility. But I think in the kind of world that currently exists, yeah, I think there's a lot of room for many bands. I think post-rock is probably, everything is cyclical. Every genre is cyclical. I think at the moment, post-rock is on a slight way down, a little slight incline, or decline rather, but it's certainly coming back up. I think this year it started to pick back up again, and for the first time in quite a long time, we get the sense that the post-rock scene, or the instrumental scene, or whatever you want to call it, is kind of supportive. For years, there's a lot of sort of competition amongst post-rock bands in the post-rock scene. For example, in the metal scene, many metal bands support each other. There's many metal festivals, and liking different metal bands is celebrated and encouraged, where liking many different post-rock bands in the post-rock scene can be seen as, oh, you like them, it's very, very competitive. So I think that's thankfully it's starting to change based on our experience in the last few festivals. Everyone has gone on really well, and we've all checked each other out, and all the comments online are very positive and stuff. So it's nice to see that sort of sense of camaraderie existing now for the first time. So who knows, maybe as post-rock grows or instrumental music grows in popularity and the fan base increases, maybe there'll be bigger festivals more regularly. I really hope that's the case, because I think what we've always loved about instrumental music, and the reason we write instrumental music is, music can speak to you in ways that words can't. I think people can connect with music. Maybe on a subconscious level, maybe they don't know how they're feeling, and they just can connect emotionally to the music, and what fascinates me personally as well is that one piece of music can mean something so specific to somebody, but can mean something entirely different to somebody else. So it's very subjective that way, so however you want to, interpret it, I mean, it's certainly, the music is real, and it's not just open for interpretation, but the fact that it can be interpreted in different ways, it always fascinated me, I suppose. But yeah, I do think the post-rock scene is growing, and we're going to continue doing the best we can, and supporting the scene, keeping it going, because at the end of the day, it's essentially what it's our lives. It's what we do, and it's what we're passionate about, and it's what we are really proud to do.
Regarding this, and going back to the fact that you used to have a lot of audio visuals in the concert, first of all, I'd like to ask, I have two sort of questions together. First one is the use of audiovisual. Was that also a compensation for the absence of words? And your music seems to me, of course this is my opinion, that your music fits to movie music. Mm-hmm. So I was wondering, I don't know if you ever worked with some film director, or if you ever will, if that is something you would consider doing, because instrumental music is pretty much related to be a soundtrack for some image. So
yeah, definitely. Well, to answer your first question, I don't think the visuals were ever really used as a compensation, so to speak. I think when it was a three-piece, again, like I said earlier, it was just more, naturally, it was more of an audio-visual thing. So the visuals were just there to enhance the music really more than anything. And then luckily, as I said, where we are now, we don't feel like we need to depend on visuals at all. And just because of the nature of the show being more about the musicians performing, playing their music, we don't feel that we need visuals. Maybe, excuse me, when the project grows a bit bigger, hopefully, which it will, and there might, if there's a bigger budget, we might be able to go back and look at the production and maybe reincorporate the visuals somehow. But for the moment, we're happy doing what we're doing, really. To answer your second question about the movie soundtrack, yeah, that's definitely something that we're very much interested in. I think if you look at the big bands in the scene, if you look at the likes of Explosions in the Sky and Mogwai, the big break for them is when they got featured in movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And while our music has appeared in various shows over the years, it's only now that we're starting to be approached by music or video or movie producers rather. So there's a few small things in the works at the moment. There's a few exciting announcements on that we'll have soon enough. But you're right, our music and just instrumental music in general is very appropriate for movie soundtracks and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely that is something that we will be doing and are really excited about too.
What kind of movie would suit best your music? Or if you want to name a genre or a director, maybe you wish could ask for your music.
Here's the dream. Chris Nolan revives the Batman series,
wow.
and we score the whole movie for a second Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. You heard it here first. God is an astronaut.
Cross fingers, so I like that.
I guess anything kind of like spacey, or we're all really into sci-fi and alien stuff and horror stuff, and so I mean something like that would be really cool. Some sort of alien movie would be amazing. But yeah, I mean, we always keep an open mind with that kind of stuff. If we're approached by anyone, we'll certainly we'll consider any offer that we're given, and we'll do the best that we can and try make it as cool as possible.
So, can we say about the explosion of the fame for the band? You joined in 2010, right?
Correct. November 2010. Correct.
The record was Age of the Fifth Sun, correct? That's
correct. Yeah, that was 2010, and then since then has been Origins, and we're currently we have about one more song to write. We're in the middle of writing the last song for the new record, which is currently untitled. We haven't got a working title for it even yet, but we have 7 songs written. We want to write 8, so we'll probably write 2 more, I'd say, and select the best 8. Is the idea so far anyway, but it's really exciting. It's very different to what we've done in the past, but then there's also some similarities too, in the sense that it's quite dark and ambient, but also heavy at times. So it's kind of it's really exciting, because it's a combination of what we feel are all the best sides to our music, all in one album. So yeah, that'll be out soon. That'll be out. We hope to release that in April. So yeah, things are very busy when we're not, when we're not touring or when we're not on the road. We're in the studio trying to write this album. So it's very busy times right now.
Well, about the last record, Origins, it was released 1 year ago.
That's correct.
And you've been touring most of the time up to now. So do you think it's getting the right appreciation?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's the songs that we're playing off. Sorry, I'm just moving my laptop here. The songs that we're playing off Origins are getting a really great response live. Actually, and it's funny because I think people originally were turned off by the idea of the vocoders on record, but when they hear it live, it's a completely different environment, and it all seems to make sense to them. When the tracks that we're doing off Origins are Reverse World, which has the vocoder at the end, Calistoga, which is pretty much vocoder all the way through. Last March, obviously, there's no vocoder in that, but the tracks with the vocals now, and particularly the vocoder, are getting the best, almost the best response. They're really going down well, and I think it adds that kind of human element to the live show as well, And you can see now the more and more people are familiarizing themselves with the material and the songs, they're kind of singing along with the words and stuff for the first time, even though it's vocoded words. It's kind of cool, But yeah, definitely, I think it's gone in really well, and we're all really proud of that album. It was something really different. It was a new sound. We tried something new, and that's it. Then we'll always have that album to look back on. I think in years, the people who haven't necessarily responded well to it, might look back in 5-10 years and go, actually, that album is, it has something completely different. These guys show that they could do something entirely different. So yeah, that was kind of like our experimental album, and now the next one we're putting out is darker, it's heavier, and it's sort of back to kind of deep, spacey, ambient, dark music.
I'd like to ask you something about your career as a musician and with the band. I'd like to know if there's a point when you realized you were going to be this famous, and how does it feel, and what advice would you give to bands who want to pursue this aim?
Well, I don't know if any of us consider ourselves to be famous, but we're certainly a hard-working band, we've always we've made a lot of sacrifices. You know, there's been many things in all of our personal lives that we've had to sacrifice in order to do this. And I guess it's like anything in life. If you want something, you need to work really, really hard at it, and you have to be prepared to leave loved ones behind, and you know, people that are close to you. You know, you go separate ways, and it's. If you choose this as your career, if you want to be in the music industry, if you want to make it as a band, there are just some certain things that you have to accept. So that's definitely the most difficult thing. I think in terms of advice to other bands, definitely use the internet to your advantage, and don't let people who are just interested in looking at music as a money-making machine, don't let people like that tell you that your music isn't good, because music is art. Music has to be art. And if music continues to be art, music will be good. Music will be accepted, and music will be listened to. And I think we're an example of that. If your music is good and you write it from the heart, people will be able to connect. If you can connect to it, other people will be able to connect to it too. So for other bands coming up, regardless of genre, in every genre, belief, commitment, patience, all the good qualities that we need to activate in ourselves and inspire others to activate around us. Yeah, all the good qualities are really what's needed. Patience being probably a big one, because it does take a long time, you know. And yeah, hard work and just a clear head. You know, we're all very level-headed guys. There's no crazy drinking or drugs or anything like that. We're all really serious about what we do. And at the end of the day, it's, you know, 2 a.m. or something, we finish the show, we go home and we sleep and we get up and we're happy to do it all over again. We know it's really, really difficult work, but it's what we all love. It's what we all want to do. We all believe in the music. We all believe in the live show. We're very fortunate to have a great crew that get on really well together. And yeah, so it's just hard work, patience, and sort of mental stability, I think, would be the 3 best things. And that's not just for the music industry. Yeah, that's for everything in life, really, because the path of life is paved with challenges, you know. So it's just a measure of our success is how we handle those challenges, I think. So that's true for music and also for every other walk of life. So yeah,
the internet can spread your word everywhere. Once there were the labels, and now everyone can be a musician. But the difficulty is to reach a huge number of audience, and then to be an artist.
Yeah, definitely. I think the world of music is changed quite a lot. I think gone are the days where you can just sign to a label, put out a record, and sit back and let the money roll in. Those days, with the exception of like the guys at the very, very top, I think those days are over. I think, and even the guys at the very, very top, you can see, because of the impact the internet has had on record sales, you can see all the biggest artists in the world, all bands that have disembarked years ago are reforming and they're coming back and they're touring, because bands' primary source of income these days are gigs, are live shows. So yeah, I think it's, in many ways, I think it's for the best though, because bands are forced to go out there and work for their money, you know, and they're not just sort of sitting around letting money come in. I mean, we're happy to go out and gig. It's a really exciting part of the business. In terms of, I know what you mean now, everyone could be a musician these days, and I know for many bands it can be frustrating, and even for ourselves as well, and for everyone in the scene, because there's a hell of a lot of competition out there, because anyone now with the broadband internet connection, a laptop and a guitar is a band, you know. So, but I think what that does as well is it forces you, or it sort of motivates you to be the best you can be, you know. There's an old expression, the cream always rises to the top, you know. If you're good, your stuff will be listened to and will be appreciated. So that's certainly something that we suffer from perfectionism a little bit, you know. We don't put out anything unless we're really believing it and we think it's really good. Unless we would want to listen to it ourselves, we just shelve it. We might use it as a B-side or something, but unless we're all really happy with the sound with each track, we're not going to release it. So yeah, I think there's tremendous pressure on bands, but I think ultimately it's a good thing, as it sort of it motivates artists to be at their top, at their best, you know. And I used this reference the last time, but I've been watching a lot of Formula One recently, and I watched I think I might have even said this last time I was at Orion, but I'm going to say it again. There's a movie called Rush. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but the movie is about basically these two Formula One guys, and they're just constantly at each other's throats. They're like constantly competing with each other, but both of them inspire each other. They drive each other, and they both drive each other to be the best they can be. And I find like that's very similar to the music industry, because there's a hell of a lot of competition, especially even just exclusively in the post-rock scene. There's a hell of a lot of competition. But I'm glad, and we're all glad that competition exists and is there, because as a result of that competition, we're all at our best, you know, all the bands. So it's really exciting. I think in a very healthy way, it's healthy competition. You know, it's other bands pushing each other forward. You know, we all want to be the top guys. You know, Mono want to be at the top. We want to be at the top. You know, Explosion the Sky. You know, I think currently are maybe, you know, a little bit bigger than us, but all the rest of us, we're all fighting for that top place. But I think if that sense of competitiveness didn't exist, there would be something wrong, you know, because we're all so passionate about what we do. And I think it's such an important part, because when that passion goes, when that sense of fighting, this is a fight to the death, when that goes, you're not passionate about what you do anymore, you know. And I think in order, just again to refer back to your previous question, advice to other bands, you got to believe in yourself, you got to be passionate, and you got to, no matter what anyone else says, you got to keep going and believing in yourself. And that's really the key. What we're currently learning anyway, that's what we found so far, has been the key to success.
So one thing before saying goodbye. First of all, I think, if I'm not going wrong, you're the youngest.
I am the youngest man, yes,
you're
boy.
the youngest man of the group. And I've seen you having a lot of fun in Brazil. While researching yesterday, you know, preparing the interview, listening to the music, I was looking also at the YouTube, and I found out this video where you, while you were playing, I guess, from stage, you stole the smartphone of somebody who was like fainting because of this, and you started filming the public, you know, and you and you can hear this guy who was like crying for this. You were having fun on stage, it looked like.
Yeah, you know what, we have such a good time on stage, and we put so much energy into the show. I saw the guy with the phone, and he was videoing it, and I always remember thinking, whenever I'm at a gig, I'm always thinking, I'd love to see what it's like up on stage. This is years ago. So I just thought, I'd take his phone, and I took some footage of the crowd and the rest of the guys on stage, and I tried to do like a little selfie.
Yeah.
And then I gave it back to him, yeah, and he put it over. It was really funny, but yeah, that's, yeah, anything can happen at the gigs, you know. We try to keep a few surprises, and I always end up doing something crazy. I just can't control myself. Sometimes I get so into the show, and you know, we are very much aware that people have paid in to see our music and our show, so we're going to put everything on the line. We're going to do everything we can to make sure they have a good time, you know. And that, you know, we always feel like we have a relationship with the audience, you know. I mean, especially the energy. I mean, you'll see it. I don't know if you guys saw the last show, but you'll see it this time around. There's a tremendous sense of energy in the room, not just coming from us, but coming from the audience together. And when we work together, it's really a special dynamic in the room, and it's great, actually. It's what, for me, it's the most enjoyable part, really, of the whole thing is writing, but also the live shows. It's just so exciting, and again, just so grateful that people come out to see us. So we really are everything to them. So we try to give them everything on the night, you know. So no doubt you'll see some crazy stuff on the 13th in the Orion Club.
I guess you entered the band while the band played on big stages, but I guess in your career you played small stages too. Can you tell us what's the difference between these two situations?
The first thing, I don't know which I prefer actually at this point, because yeah, sure, it's cool when you're playing a huge big festival or something and there's like thousands and thousands of people there and you walk out, it's really exciting, right? But there's something about the small shows in the really intimate nature and atmosphere that you just don't get at a festival or at a big venue. I don't know. I don't know which I prefer. I think the bigger the stage, the better, because we like to sort of jump around the stage, and the more room, the better. You can use more energy when there's a bigger stage. But there's something I like about the little shows, because people are so close to you. And I get more nervous for the small shows because people are right in front of you, and they can see if you make a little mistake, they can see you, you know. So it's definitely more pressurizing, I think, the smaller shows. The bigger shows are probably a little bit more enjoyable, just, you know, by nature. There's more people there. It's more exciting. But that's the thing. Regardless of whether the show is big or not, we treat each show with the same amount of importance. Each show has to be 10 out of 10 for us. There's nothing else. It doesn't matter how many people there or how big the stage is. We're gonna give our best every single night, regardless of the size.
And which do you think will be the future of the band?
What do I think the future of the band? What's the future hold in store? We'd like to be the first band to do a gig in space. That would be pretty cool. I know the Mars One project is scheduled for 2030, so they haven't taken any candidates for like bands. They haven't, invited any bands over yet, but we'll be putting our names forward if they do. So yeah, I think the first ever gig in space, that'll be us.
After making the new Batman movie, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, okay, I wasn't going to say this, but the Batman movie is actually being filmed in space.
Okay.
So,
of course.
Yeah.
Okay, just one little thing. I'd like to know if you can point any channel which is not the web, not the internet, where a musician can do something for music and to spread their music.
Outside of the internet?
Yes.
Well, word of mouth has always been tremendously beneficial. I think, again, if your music is good, people will talk about it. So you don't necessarily need the internet to get your music out there. It certainly helps. But yeah, even just going to gigs, you'd be amazed at how many contacts you can make by actually just getting out there. People think, it's so difficult to get involved. But if you just go out there and live and talk to people and express yourself and communicate and network, offers inevitably come. Opportunities inevitably come. The opportunities come to us every single day, and it's just a matter of whether or not we take them. So we don't need the internet. I know in today's society we depend so heavily on the internet, but it's only about 10, 15 years ago we weren't as dependent. We still, believe it or not, I don't know if you can remember, we actually used to exist without the internet somehow, even without GPS, without mobile phones. I think in many ways technology has kind of taken us away from that a little bit, and I think I would really, really, like to see people go back to the days without the internet when they were less dependent on these things, because I think people were more genuine back then, And again, just if your music is good, the last bit of advice, if for another band, if your music is good, regardless of whether or not you're on the internet, you're people will talk about you. If you just do gigs, play shows, and believe in yourself, and people will talk about your band. That's what happened with us.
So before we thank you and we greet you, I would like to point out the sentence that I've seen a lot in various interviews of the band, which define the music as a snapshot of who we are in that moment of time.
That's correct, yeah.
So if you had to describe this moment in time, what picture would come out?
Well, I think certainly this new record anyway is about the state of catastrophe in which humanity currently finds itself. I think there's a lot of darkness in the world. All you need to do is just turn on the news and see, the extent of it. It's really, really terrible. So it's not necessarily a positive album. This next record, this next piece of art, or this next album that we're putting out is I think we've captured it basically on record. So I mean, it's not all down. There's obviously hope there as well, because I think there has to be hope. But I think if I was to take a snapshot of who we are right now, I think it's the same as we've always been. People who are passionate about what they do, people who believe in music as a form of art, people who really want to see change, and people who will continue writing music from the heart, so that people can connect with it, regardless of the sort of surroundings externally. We're always going to stay true to who we are and write music from the heart.
Thank you very much for your time.
Grazie mille.